It's no secret that the Central Intelligence Agency conducted clandestine operations into mind control techniques during the 50s, 60s and 70s. The main purpose of Project MKUltra was to force confessions from the enemy by giving them certain drugs such as LSD during interrogations. This project ran during the height of the Cold War, so paranoia ran rampant in the CIA. They would do anything to achieve their goal, including experimenting on children. It was said that MKUltra was also a means to creating a Manchurian candidate, a sleeper agent activated by a post-hypnotic trigger, immediately forgetting the assignments they were assigned to, therefore never betraying themselves, either purposely or inadvertently. By 1973, the operation was officially halted, but bizarre events in Hollywood may just prove that another mind control program is still in effect. Every year, millions of the golden-winged monarch butterflies migrate south of the US to a small area of pine groves in central Mexico, which covers an area of about 70 square miles. The process of this journey has amazed scientists for years, because the time it takes for the migration to occur is actually longer than the lifespan of a monarch butterfly, which is about 6 to 8 weeks. This means that their offspring, born during the migration, know where to go and carry on from there. It's what we would call instinct. In fact, many wonder if there isn't a kind of genetic memory at work, something hardwired or programmed within them that guides their actions toward their goal. This is something that exists in many animals, possibly even humans, like a bird's ability to build a nest, or the baby turtle's compulsion to reach the ocean as soon as they hatch from the egg. But the monarch butterfly is a symbol of something else, a different kind of programming that is said to permeate our modern society and control millions of people throughout the world. So, what exactly is the Monarch program, and how do we know it's actually taking place as we speak? It all began with a certain woman named Kathy O'Brien, who was born in 1957 and is an American author and speaker who claims to be a victim of the mind control program called Project Monarch. In her autobiography, Transformation of America, O'Brien claims that as a child she was first sexually abused by her father as well as by a network of child pornographers. Supposedly, she was then forced by the CIA to participate in the Monarch program, which she claims is a subsection of both Project MKUltra and Project Artichoke. According to O'Brien, under hypnosis, she was able to recall memories of sexual abuse of both herself and her daughter by international paedophile rings, drug barons and Satanists, who allegedly used a form of trauma-based mind control programming to make her a sex slave. Kathy O'Brien's account of being forced into the Monarch program has been labelled as a conspiracy. Religious and political scholars criticised her for her lack of supporting evidence, and that no one has yet been prosecuted in relation to this so-called mind control program. Under Project Monarch, victims, usually young children, are subjected to intense trauma, be it sexual, emotional or physical, inflicted to the point at which their minds disassociate from the experience. This causes a form of multiple personality disorder, now known as dissociative identity disorder, allowing the programmer or handler to mould these disassociated minds into new, controllable personalities. Remember, that this disorder only occurs when a person has been subjected to intense trauma. It does not occur naturally, so we know that it is and can be used to control people. These separate identities are known as alters or alter egos. Triggers are put in place throughout media and other sources that trigger these mind control slaves to perform whatever actions they have been programmed to do.
And what people don't know about you, you're from where?
I was born in Trinidad, and I grew up in New York.
Right, in Trinidad, and you had a very, very tough childhood.
Yeah.
You want to share a little bit? Because I think that's always, for me, the reason to share it is to let other young girls or boys out there that are having a situation with their family like that to know you can get out of it and be okay.
Absolutely. Well, I think everybody knows, because I had a documentary on MTV, that my father battled like drugs and alcohol for most of my life. And we moved a lot. We were always kind of in fear that he was gonna be violent and stuff like that. And I would just lock myself up, and as I got older, I would just lock myself in my room and write. So they wouldn't really know what I was doing. They just heard like the music playing over and over, and that was like my escape. I would just write, or I'd go in my car and write. And
right. So, but is it okay to share with the dream your mother had, this premonition? And
that she had a dream that the house was gonna get burned down, and then sure enough, my father tried to burn the house down with her in it, but me and my brother weren't there. And
she knew she had this dream and said, "Go sleep somewhere else this night." And she got out.
She got out on time, thank God.
Okay, so your mother, because I'm very close with my mother. Your mother means the world to you.
The world to me. Everything I do is for her. Yeah.
So your goal is to take care of her and make sure she's happy. And
yes.
Also, I want to find out about this situation with you have many different alter egos, right?
Oh yes.
Roman is one, and then
Roman is one. Barbie's one. She's like the little innocent girl. I have Martha, who's Roman's mother. She's like a crazy lady from London. And actually, she's gonna make her debut in the video that I just shot with Drake. It's for a song called "Moment for Life." Mm-hmm. So we just shot that video, and Martha, you'll actually see Martha in the video. It's gonna be kind of weird.
Great! I can't wait to see her.
Thank you.
All right.
There are also various stages or types of programming, each tuned to specific types of individuals and serving different purposes. Alpha programming, for example, leads to increased memory ability and greater physical strength, while delta programming exists to remove fear and ensure that orders are followed until the very last breath. What's the end goal of all of this? Well, control, of course. We can see an extensive amount of evidence that some form of mind control is taking place, particularly in Hollywood in this century. It might not even necessarily be the Monarch program that is being used to control celebrities, just good old-fashioned trauma, shame, and the fear of having everything taken away in the blink of an eye. We all know that sexual deviants exist: Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, James Gunn, and Dr. Luke, to name a few. Inflicting trauma onto these celebrities becomes a way of controlling them. That's all abusers ever want, and when a person wants fame more than they want their own sanity and pride, they will do anything for it, until the price they paid became too heavy to bear. When these celebrities begin to break free from their programming, they are vilified in Hollywood, and most will never work again.
It's not every day that I get the chance to talk to someone I grew up watching on television. My next guest is a bold, independent woman who pushed the boundaries in Hollywood, using her platform to tackle issues like homosexuality and classism. You may know her simply as Roseanne, but she's not only a famous actress and comedian, she's also a social activist and political figure, having just run for president under the Peace and Freedom Party. And that's why I'm especially excited to share my interview with Roseanne Barr. Check it out.
It's really difficult to see things that are kept invisible, but it's really hard for artists to find their voice in the medium of television, period.
Right. And let's talk about sexism, Roseanne, which I know that you're very vocal about today, especially as I'm looking at your timeline. I mean, I talk about women's rights a lot on this show, and I cannot tell you how many men tell me sexism doesn't exist anymore. And in fact, that sexism against men is actually more of a problem in society. Where is this mentality coming from?
It comes from a mentality of sexism. And just by virtue of the things they say, I mean, it's just ungodly ignorant, and it's ungodly ignorant that they have no idea that they're ignorant too. So it's like levels of patriarchy and patriarchal brainwashing and mind control.
And you know, I can't help but when, you know, as we're talking about this, think of the Steubenville rape case. I mean, this is a perfect example of how sexism does exist in society. Not only did the rapists get a slap on the wrist, but the media was showing sympathy toward the rapists, their verdict. I mean, is the media and entertainment responsible for perpetuating a rape culture?
Yeah, I think the media is responsible for perpetuating a rape culture. And, you know, I mean, it's profitable for the people at the top who run the rape culture, you know, who run it, and, you know, they profit from it, and to say otherwise would be a big fat lie. But so, you know, they don't want any kind of power shifted away from the way they have it set up in a very hierarchical manner with, you know, women's free labor at the bottom, largely slave labor, at the bottom of that big pyramid.
You've been a Hollywood insider for so long, yet you've been vocal for so long. I mean, how challenging is it to see your colleagues across Hollywood lacking for the Obama administration when they have so much power and influence that they could single-handedly shape the dialogue when so many people are watching them?
Well, I think that, you know, this is a culture of fear, and nobody's more afraid than people in Hollywood. They're afraid that they'll drop out of the top, you know, they're afraid that they'll drop from the bottom of the pyramid, maybe to the middle of the pyramid. But, you know, they're the ones, Hollywood is the one that keeps all this power structure and all this culture of racism and sexism and classism and genderism and all of it in place. They continually feed it, and they make a lot of money doing it. And they do it at the behest of their masters who run everything. So, you know, they're not going to get brave enough to do that. I mean, I think that there aren't many of us who are brave enough to do that. And I'm just, you know, I'm lucky that I can do it, and I feel that I do it on behalf of many people in Hollywood too. I go to Hollywood parties, or, you know, occasionally I go to Oscar parties and things like that, and people, big stars, people will grab me by the arm and take me aside and say, "I just want to thank you for the things you say." And it blows my mind, but that's the culture. It's a culture of fear for sure. You know, and it's a big culture of mind control too. MKUltra mind control rules in Hollywood. If you don't know, Google that and look into it.
Well, we've talked about Operation Mockingbird, MKUltra mind control stuff from, I mean, this goes back decades and decades. But Roseanne, I mean, do you know people have been blacklisted? I mean, is it just kind of a self-censorship in Hollywood, or do people actually get edged out if they are too much against the grain?
Yeah, it's self-censorship after a while, but it's not just a crazy self-censorship. It's self-censorship because there's actually a danger that you will never work again. And people know it. Everybody has friends that it happened to, that maybe you said too much, or maybe you were too vocal on unpopular issues. And it's funny because it doesn't matter if 2 years later, I find this a lot, that 2 years later those unpopular issues become very mainstream. They still don't forgive the first person who does it. And that's kind of been my story there. When you're first, you're you know, going to be vilified, despite the fact that 2 years later everybody's saying what you said. You're still going to be vilified because you dared. And you know, like they say, the Chinese, you know, the Chinese have a myth or a saying that says the nail that stands up is hammered down, and that's how it is here and everywhere in the world. Right. You know, you don't really want to put yourself at odds with people who decide your future and pay, you know, for your work. but sometimes you have to. And I was very lucky that I had a successful show that made me a lot of money, and so that I can do that. And I feel that I owe that to the people I came from, to say those things that maybe they can't say because they're afraid they'll be fired, or they're afraid even that they'll be put in jail or whatever. I'm going to do it because why not?
There's a new documentary that is all about the dark side of Hollywood and how some power players allegedly use their positions to prey on young aspiring actors. The film is called An Open Secret, and as Nichelle Turner found out, there are some Hollywood power brokers who hope this film never sees the light of day. In tonight's Big Picture, Hollywood's darkest secret.
They would go to the auditions and so forth to try to pick the ones that they wanted.
At one point he said, you know what, why don't you just take off your clothes? Take off your clothes and let me see what you look like.
You've seen their faces. One alleged victim had roles in What's Eating Gilbert Grape and The Apostle. Another is an aspiring musician who was violated when he was just 11 years old. Meet Evan Henze. He is just one of 5 telling their stories in the documentary An Open Secret. The 21-year-old says he was abused for 5 years by his manager, Marty Weiss, who was convicted for his sex crimes on Evan in 2012.
Do you remember that first time?
Yeah, I do.
What happened?
We went to the park and we played basketball. So it was that night he touched me. At 11, I didn't know it was improper. It just didn't make any sense to me.
But Evan may not be the only one. The manager also allegedly abused the late Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. Feldman told us it didn't end there.
When I look back at a picture of when I was 15 years old and I was surrounded by 5 men, and every one of those men in that photograph is a pedophile, that's a pretty big problem. I was molested, and I said yes. I allowed it to happen. But I was a child.
I was told that this is everyday business, and he made me feel like I have to do that in order to get any job. He was just saying this was common in the industry. He said, oh, if you have sex with me, then we'll go to SeaWorld the next day.
When did you finally decide, I have to tell someone?
At 18. I tape recorded an hour-long conversation, and I asked him straightforward, why did you abuse me?
And how did he respond?
He responded and said that you were coming on to me at 12. That was not the case.
It was that recording that helped put Weiss behind bars.
People don't want to be the first to call out. People don't want to be the whistleblower. And what's sick is children are being abused. Children are being fondled. It sickens me. I don't want to be a part of that.
By the way, my thing is this: it's not just Hollywood's dirty little secret; it's the world's dirty little secret. This is something that's been going on not just in Hollywood, but everywhere. People are afraid to talk about it. But I really think it has a lot to do with how you approach your children. We always want to approach them, I think, in a way of trying not to be direct. And I think that destroys a child. You have to be direct, very upfront, and tell them exactly what's going to happen to them.
Well, I'm gonna have you, after the commercial break, give the parents very specific advice. I think you've got some great things to point out. But one of the things you and I were talking about in the makeup chairs a few minutes ago was you and I have been talking about this for 18, 19 years, something like
exactly.
that. And now people seem to be listening finally. It's getting frequent enough. Now, back then, when we first started talking about this, you remember people saying, oh, well, people are just talking about it more now. It's always been around.
Exactly.
You agree with me? I'm asking Anna, and you were shaking your head vigorously. I'm going to ask you the same question in just a second, but Todd first. Do you agree that this is something that is becoming of epidemic proportion and it's growing?
I think that it has always been around, but it's becoming larger than ever now because the internet has changed the whole game of it, I think. It has given pedophiles the opportunity to do things more than they've been able to do. See kids more, and also they're putting themselves in positions now, which is even more insane, to be able to get to kids faster. And the parents.
So it's a more efficient marketplace for them.
Much more efficient. It's like a fishing game, and they're fishing, unfortunately, and we're not watching.
Well, we should be. Anne, you were shaking your head vigorously. You agree with this?
Absolutely agree. I think it's a combination of the internet because the pedophiles are awesome. They are completely incredibly technologically savvy. So they are able to trade pictures, contact each other in other states, when before they wouldn't have even known.
I will ask you the same question, though. You were shaking your head vigorously when I was talking to Todd about being Hollywood's dirty little secret. Do you think it is?
I do think it is. I agree with Todd that I think it is a bigger picture, that we've seen that in the athletic world just recently. But I think Hollywood in particular has a real problem that no one has talked about. They covered it up for a long time, and it's just now coming to light. Maybe in the last 4 years, I'd say, we've had quite a lot of convictions, so it's starting to look like a trend.
Well, at least the legal system is getting hold of it, but I don't think the public discourse is really, I think tonight we're really finally stepping up and saying, I think this is something. Now, this Marty Weiss, apparently he used to teach private acting classes at his home. Parents would drop their kids off and wait outside. A reporter talked to Weiss's neighbor. Watch this.
Marty would just say they were in there watching movies or whatever. They go out bowling. I never got a weird feeling. Never, never, never. You know, Marty always said he was just a big kid at heart. That's a horrendous thing. It's sickening when you think about that. You know, and I'm kind of upset with myself that I never suspected it.
Todd, grown men wanting to be around young men, young boys. Is that okay?
That is
Is that ever okay?
That is the worst thing possible. If the President of the United States came to me and said, hey, Todd, I want to take your son fishing, I'd be like, all right, so where we all going to? I don't care who it is. You are not going to be alone with my son. I am not going to give you that opportunity. It's not going to.
This idea to now. Chris, what happened to the hair? It's gone on the floor, huh? Come on. We all saw that. Wow. Get in the back, Ben. Oh, sorry. Brittany! Why she's gonna drive? Alright guys, that's good. Out, guys. Give it room. Give it room.
Not like the pain.
Is she the one with the hood on? Well, does she have a hood on? Hood on? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Dad. I thought she had
Tira foto, porra. Ela faz isso. Cabeça. Vai que eles estão longe, cara. Gruda no vidro, cara. Gosta de você também.
Highway, right down the middle. Highway, right down the middle. Which you want, left or right, though, okay? Clear all the way. Spread out, guys. Spread out. Oh, my God. Spread out, guys. Let's help you down. Yeah, that's, thank you, Dave. Michael! Oh, my. Come on, guys, back off the door. He's away from this guy. You can get all the pictures you want. Get away from the door. Get up here. Get up here, Fed. Get up here. Beleza, thanks. All right, sounds good. Thank you, bro.
Oh, it's on the
Look.
She's small! Oh my God! She is completely bald. She is completely bald. Like Madonna. That's a breaking whoever is the shot of the ball. I was there. I was there.
Oh my god. Whoa. It's a walking man again.
Hello? 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 Come out right now.
No, bro, excuse me.
Clear the walkway. Go red, go red.
Johnny, steer clear.
Here she comes. Everybody get ready. Okay, here she comes.
Front, Christian, front, Christian, Christian, come up the front. Christian, come to the front.
Hold her steady.
Bobby, no!
Have you,
Send them out my head. Just call me. Talk to me
like a man.
We begin, though, with the latest on Kanye West. We're learning more about his breakdown, what was going on before he was hospitalized. West is now getting a psychiatric evaluation in Los Angeles. ABC's Diane Macedo has all the new details. Good morning, Diane.
George, good morning. West was being treated for sleep deprivation when his doctor reportedly called 911 saying he was psychotic. Now a famous friend of Kanye's is speaking out saying he saw warning signs. This morning, new details are emerging about Kanye West's alleged mental state as he was rushed to the hospital. Heard on this fire department dispatch call obtained by TMZ.
Rescue 41, psychiatric emergency, Morrill Avenue.
The 911 call came in around 1:20 p.m. on Monday after West was reportedly acting erratically. Paramedics and the Los Angeles Fire Department rushed to the Hollywood home of his personal trainer, where, according to TMZ, officials spoke with West for 90 minutes before following protocol for a psychiatric patient, restraining him and taking him to UCLA Medical Center for an evaluation.
The doctor called 911 and said that Kanye was suffering a temporary psychosis as a result of a lack of sleep and exhaustion.
Now fans wonder if the emergency caused his abrupt decision to cancel the remaining 21 appearances of his St. Pablo tour. Just 48 hours earlier, the entertainer arrived at his Sacramento concert over an hour late and sang only 2 songs before this happened.
Stop it.
West ranting for over 15 minutes on everything from the election to even Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, call me, bro. You still ain't called me.
It was uncharacteristic of him, but that aside, you know, to cancel a month and a half's worth of tours when a lot of money is on the line, something is pretty wrong here.
Longtime friend and collaborator John Legend says he saw the warning signs and was concerned by West's recent behavior.
We were with Kim actually, right before all of that. I was concerned by what I saw, so hopefully he's getting some rest and some time to figure things out.
In his last interview before being hospitalized, West tells Surface Magazine that he's uncompromising as an artist.
And I refuse to negotiate. I can collaborate, but, I'm an artist, so as soon as you negotiate, you're being compromised.
And Kim Kardashian is set to be by her husband's side, but so far no comment from either of their camps. The E! Network, which airs her reality show, also confirms they did not film the 911 call and are not filming at the hospital. So it sounds like they're going through this in relative privacy, at least for them.
Oh, great concern. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I'm extremely fortunate to have survived my mind control ordeal. Mine was horrific and horrendous, and it was based on what the Himmler research had learned about the effects of trauma on the human mind. It's what the Catholics had long since learned about effects of trauma on the human mind through the Spanish Inquisition and the kind of tortures that they were using back with the Crusades in the early days. They knew the effects of trauma on the human mind. That information has been suppressed, and the mental health systems even. Dr. Ewan Cameron, who is founder of the American Psychiatric Association, who is working in Montreal at the Allen Memorial Institute, was an MKUltra doctor, and he deliberately suppressed information on the effects of trauma on the human mind. This is what we need to learn because our world is becoming a very violent and traumatic place. As those traumas rise, we become more suggestible. Since my experience was extreme, and mind control is a sliding scale, by understanding what I went through and how I healed, I hope it empowers each and every one of you to begin reclaiming control over our own minds, our lives, and restoring peace to our planet. One thing that I've learned in traveling and speaking out globally is that people all over the world want the same things. They want peace, love, happiness, and truth, the kind of truth that makes them free.
So, in conclusion, we can see there is a lot of evidence of trauma-based mind control, or in the very least, behaviour control in Hollywood. This goes beyond just a valley of California. This affects the entire film, TV and music industry across the world. Celebrities often appear to be extremely lucky, they become rich beyond their wildest dreams, gain adoring fans, and live a life that most ordinary folk can only dream of. But this appears to come at a very high price. These so-called meltdowns that affect a lot of celebrities almost come out of nowhere, or they occur multiple times, Lindsay Lohan being a prime example of this. Then they are vilified in the media, like Britney Spears, who was continually mocked after her breakdown, and then Kanye West was forced into hospital, then everyone called him a madman. Who knows what was done to him behind closed doors, as ever since then he has been very quiet, which is very uncharacteristic of him. It isn't just about controlling celebrities though. Hollywood is used to control the population. You are told what to think. A narrative or agenda is pushed so hard that when a lie has been told 1,000 times, it becomes the truth. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, and if you enjoy strange but true stories like this, then you should definitely subscribe for weekly videos. Thanks for watching.